Welcome to the Top Stoic channel. Bring positive energy into your life. Relax and you will manifest everything you want. Stoic in modern life. Have you ever noticed how the more desperately we want something, success, recognition, love, the more it seems to slip through our fingers? In our modern, AI-driven world, where speed and precision rule, we're conditioned to chase results with obsession. Hustle culture tells us to grind harder, push further, optimize everything. But the Stoics knew a deeper truth, one that speaks louder than ever today. Peace does not come from pursuit, it comes from alignment. Think of it this way. When you cling too tightly to a goal, you create resistance. Like trying to grip water, it escapes through force. Instead, what if you focused on who you are becoming, rather than what you're trying to get? What if instead of chasing, you chose stillness, clarity, and trust? Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily, do what is necessary, and let nature do the rest. In practical terms, that means showing up, doing the work, but releasing attachment to the outcome. Like planting a seed, you water it, give it sunlight, but you don't scream at it to grow faster. Nature has its rhythm. So does your journey. Even in a high-tech age, when AI seems to predict and control everything, we must reclaim the power of letting go. Because trying to control every detail is not strength, it's fear, disguised as effort. Real power lies in presence, in responding with wisdom, not reacting with panic. So ask yourself, am I forcing life or flowing with it? This isn't about apathy, it's about intentional surrender. Trust the process. Live with virtue. Do what's in your control, and let the rest unfold. If this message resonates with you, support the movement by subscribe to the Top Stoic channel and sharing your thoughts in the comments. Let's build a space where ancient wisdom meets the challenges of today. 1. Embrace the flow of timing. In our fast-paced world, the desire to control everything is almost instinctive. From a young age, we are conditioned to believe that the quicker things happen, the better, be it a career breakthrough, a personal accomplishment, or even the simplest everyday joy. Yet, as life unfolds, it becomes clear that true transformation often resides not in the frantic scramble for immediacy, but in the gentle art of waiting. Trusting in divine timing is about yielding to a process that is intricate and mysterious, allowing events to manifest when the moment is ripe. Reflecting on my early years, I recall countless instances when rushing led to rushed decisions and missed insights. Each time I pushed too hard, I ended up overlooking the small details that later proved critical. It was as if life whispered, "Slow down, learn the lesson," only for me to hastily dismiss it in my urgency to move forward. This early struggle set the stage for a deeper understanding that when we try to force outcomes, we inevitably disrupt a natural balance that, when respected, promises a more rewarding journey. The essence of divine timing lies in the acknowledgement that everything in life evolves at its unique pace. Much like a seed sown in fertile soil, growth and bloom require time, care, and a measured patience that our modern instant gratification culture rarely honors. Imagine standing at the edge of a garden, watching seeds being scattered with hopeful anticipation. Each seed holds the potential for vibrant life, but if pulled from the earth too soon, or nurtured with haste, it never has the chance to develop its full brilliance. In this same way, our dreams and aspirations, when given the proper space and time, have the extraordinary ability to flourish beyond what we originally imagined. Consider the wisdom of ancient philosophers, whose words have echoed through time. Epicurus once stated, "No great thing is created suddenly." This reminder not only underscores the inherent beauty of gradual progress, but also teaches us that our most valued achievements, whether that be success, wisdom, or the evolution of our character, are the result of persistent effort combined with the art of patience. In fact, as I look back on pivotal moments in my life, I noticed that those achievements arrived naturally once I released the urge to control every step. The better strategy, it turned out, was to invest in the process rather than obsess about the result. Take, for example, the story of a dear friend named Sophie. In the past, Sophie was infatuated with the idea of success, particularly in her career. She worked with relentless energy, pushing herself to the brink in an effort to manifest her dreams on her own terms. Every day was a flurry of activity, pursuing opportunities, networking with fervor, and always striving to be ahead of the curve. However, despite all her exertions, it seemed that no matter how hard she tried, the puzzle pieces of her aspirations never quite fit together. The constant rush not only left her frustrated but also obscured the lessons and moments of beauty that occur during the quiet pauses of life. Then, there came a turning point. One day, Sophie chose to step back and reevaluate her approach. Instead of fixating on the end result, she decided to focus on her personal and professional growth. She dedicated time to honing her skills, building authentic connections, and cultivating a deep trust in the natural order of things. Gradually, the tension lifted, and the energy of her environment shifted. Opportunities that were once elusive began to materialize, as if gently drawn to her newfound calm and confidence. By trusting in the natural unfolding of events, Sophie transformed her journey entirely. Her experience became a testament to the fact that when you let go of the desperate need to rush, life rewards you with a more harmonious path. So, how does one begin to trust in divine timing? Firstly, relinquish the illusion of control. There's an immense freedom in accepting that not every element of your life is meant to be directed by your will. Instead, invest your energy into personal growth and meaningful actions. Focus on the journey itself, the little steps, the daily progress, and believe that every moment contributes to a larger, grander tapestry. Secondly, allow yourself the grace of patience. Recognize that every process has its own unfolding rhythm. Instead of pushing against the current, learn to swim with it. Embrace the inherent beauty of waiting and observe how gradually the scattered pieces of your efforts start to form a coherent picture. The small victories, the lessons learned from setbacks, and the unexpected opportunities are all parts of a journey that cannot be hurried. Finally, cultivate an inner trust that what is meant for you will find its way, regardless of the pace of your efforts. Celebrate the natural flow of progress and find peace in the realization that timing, often mysterious, is the silent architect of success and fulfillment. Ultimately, trusting in divine timing isn't about passivity. It's about engaging actively with life, embracing the process, and allowing yourself to be guided by forces greater than the immediate horizon. When you let go of the frantic rush to dictate every outcome, you open your heart to a world where every step, every pause, and every moment is perfectly timed for your ultimate growth and joy. 2. Let go of the outcome. One of the most profound shifts you can make in your life is learning to detach from the outcome. It sounds simple, yet this idea holds the key to unlocking inner peace, deeper focus, and true momentum. In a world that constantly demands results, whether it's landing the perfect job, achieving a personal milestone, or nurturing a meaningful relationship, we often fall into the trap of thinking that sheer focus and control will get us there. But the truth is, the more you cling to a specific result, the more resistance you unintentionally create. Think about it. When your mind is fixated on what must happen, you begin to carry the heavy weight of pressure. You overthink, you worry, and suddenly, your actions feel forced. You're no longer acting from a place of inspiration, but from fear. Fear that things might not turn out the way you planned. The irony? This very obsession with results can block you from receiving them. Real power lies not in controlling the future, but in mastering the present. When you shift your focus from what you want to what you're doing, everything begins to change. By pouring your energy into the process, your mindset, your actions, your daily efforts, you begin to move with purpose, clarity, and flow. You're no longer tied to outcomes that live in the future. You're grounded in the now, where all your true power exists. This is the heart of Stoic wisdom. The philosopher Epictetus once said, "Do not seek for things to happen the way you want them to. Rather, wish that what happens happens as it should, and you will be happy." It's a radical idea in our control-obsessed culture. Happiness doesn't come from bending life to your will. It comes from surrender, trusting that life unfolds with perfect timing, even when it doesn't match your plans. Let me share a story that brings this idea to life. A friend of mine, let's call her Lily, had her sights set on a big career breakthrough. She was determined, disciplined, and driven. Every day, she pushed herself to the limit, hoping her relentless effort would speed things up. But despite her hard work, nothing seemed to move. She became anxious, discouraged, and emotionally drained. The more she tried to force the outcome, the more stuck she felt. Then one day, she received a piece of advice from a mentor that shifted everything. He said, "Stop trying to control the finish line. Show up every day. Do your best. Let the rest go." At first, the idea seemed counterintuitive, but Lily took it to heart. She stopped obsessing over the when and how, and instead began focusing on who she was becoming in the process. She showed up with intention. She gave her best, without expectation. And over time, things began to shift quietly, effortlessly. The opportunities she had once chased started arriving on their own. What once felt like a battle became a dance. So how can you begin to detach from outcomes in your own life? Start with this. Focus on effort, not results. Give your energy to the process what you can control right now. Let the results be a natural byproduct. Release perfection. Trust that everything is unfolding exactly as it should. Even delays carry lessons. Stay grounded in the present. Don't get lost in a future that doesn't exist yet. The only real moment is the one you're in. In the end, detaching from the outcome is not about giving up. It's about giving over. It's about releasing the anxiety of control and embracing the freedom of trust. When you do, you'll be surprised at how naturally the right doors begin to open. Because the truth is, life flows more easily when you stop trying to force it. 3. Master your mindset. If there's one truth that echoes through both ancient philosophy and modern wisdom, it's this: your thoughts shape your world. Every day we're surrounded by noise, external pressure, inner doubts, and the chaos of a fast-moving world. But amid it all, there's one thing that remains entirely in your control: your mindset. The lens through which you view the world determines how you experience it. And when you learn to master your thoughts, you begin to master your life. It's not about pretending challenges don't exist. It's about how you meet those challenges with panic and stress, or with clarity and strength. A scattered, anxious mind is like a storm. It clouds your judgment, distorts your emotions, and keeps you stuck in cycles of fear and frustration. But a calm, centered mind acts like still water, reflecting everything clearly, inviting solutions instead of panic, and creating space for possibility. When your thoughts are aligned with clarity and purpose, you're able to respond rather than react. Instead of spiraling into worry, you become grounded. Instead of resisting change, you adapt. This shift in mindset opens doors both internally and externally. You start to see answers where others see dead ends. You recognize opportunity in the middle of adversity. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor-philosopher, said it best: "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." Let that sink in. Your circumstances don't determine your joy. Your interpretation of those circumstances does. When you control your thoughts, you gain power over your perception. And when you shape your perception, you shape your entire experience. Let me tell you a story that brings this to life. There's a woman I know. Let's call her Rachel. For years, she was consumed by stress. Her days were a blur of deadlines, responsibilities, and endless to-do lists. She lived in a constant state of tension, always bracing for the next problem. Her mind raced from one worry to the next, and peace felt like something reserved for other people. Then, something shifted. Rachel realized that the external chaos in her life was never going to stop, but what she could change was how she met it. So she made a decision. Instead of letting her thoughts spiral, she would train them. She began to wake up a little earlier, spending 10 minutes each morning in silence, focusing on her breath. She started noticing her inner dialogue, every negative thought, every limiting belief, and replaced them with grounded affirmations and empowering reframes. When something felt overwhelming, she paused. She asked herself, "Is this really a threat or just a thought?" And in doing so, she began to reclaim her peace. Over time, her energy shifted, the tension eased, new opportunities appeared, and the very same problems that used to break her down became stepping stones for growth. Rachel hadn't changed her job or her environment. She had changed her mindset. And that made all the difference. So how do you begin mastering your mindset? Start with these 3 simple practices. Awareness is everything. Pay attention to your inner dialogue. What are you feeding your mind? Are your thoughts empowering or limiting? Awareness is the first step to transformation. Reframe your thoughts. Challenges are inevitable, but your interpretation is optional. Instead of thinking, "This is too much," try, "This is an opportunity to grow." Your words shape your perspective. Stay anchored in the now. Most anxiety comes from imagining future problems, but peace is always found in the present. Focus on what you can control today: your actions, your attitude, your breath. At the end of the day, your mindset isn't just one part of the equation, it is the equation. A calm, focused mind becomes a magnet for solutions, clarity, and abundance. When you learn to lead your thoughts instead of being led by them, your whole reality begins to shift. Choose your thoughts like you'd choose your future, intentionally, wisely, and with care. Because when you master your mind, you unlock the power to shape your world. 4. Release the reins. Finding power in letting go. There's a kind of freedom that doesn't come from gaining more control. It comes from releasing it. We live in a world obsessed with control. We try to map out our futures, manage every detail, and predict outcomes as if life were a puzzle we could solve with enough effort. But what if the constant need to control is what's holding us back? What if true peace and real power comes from letting go? Think about it. How much of your energy is spent worrying about things you can't influence? The weather, other people's opinions, the twists and turns of the future. When we cling to control, we're really clinging to the illusion that certainty equals safety. But life was never meant to be perfectly predictable. And trying to force it into a fixed shape only leads to stress, frustration, and burnout. 5. Move with purpose, not panic. There's a distinct energy behind every action we take in life. At times, that energy stems from clarity and intention. Other times, it comes from fear, from a restless urge to grasp whatever we can before the opportunity slips away. But here's a truth that often gets overlooked. The difference between acting with purpose and acting out of desperation can determine whether we attract success or repel it. Let's rewind for a moment. Think back to a time when you felt like the clock was ticking too fast, like success was just out of reach and slipping further away with every passing moment. In those moments, it's easy to fall into frantic mode. You rush, you force, you chase. Every move is driven by the fear of missing out, of falling behind, of failing. But what most people don't realize is that desperation carries a specific energy, and that energy pushes opportunities away rather than drawing them in. When you act out of desperation, it's like trying to build a house during a storm. You're rushing to put the pieces together, but nothing stays in place. You make decisions you later regret. You say yes to things that don't align with your values. You compromise. And worst of all, you exhaust yourself without moving forward. On the flip side, when you act with purpose, you become like a steady stream cutting through stone, not fast, but focused and unstoppable. Purposeful action is calm. It's consistent. It comes from a place of belief and vision rather than fear and lack. Instead of chasing results, you're pulled toward your goals by a deep inner compass that keeps you grounded and aligned. This is where timeless Stoic wisdom becomes a powerful guide. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." That line is more than advice. It's a philosophy. Before you act, define who you want to become. Define your core values, your long-term vision, and the kind of life you want to live. Once you've done that, every action you take should be in service of that identity. It's not about doing more. It's about doing what matters most. Let me tell you about Jack, a man I've come to admire for his quiet transformation. Jack was caught in a whirlwind of career anxiety. He wanted to get ahead, to climb the ladder, to prove himself. He was doing all the right things on paper, networking, applying, showing up. But deep down, he was acting from fear. Fear of being left behind. Fear of not being enough. Then came his moment of clarity. Jack realized he was exhausting himself not because he lacked ability, but because he lacked alignment. He had been chasing outcomes without ever considering whether they were truly his. So, he hit pause. He took a step back and asked himself, who do I want to become? What do I really value? From that day forward, his strategy changed. He set goals that reflected his core values. He began moving slower, but more intentionally. He chose quality over quantity, clarity over chaos. And soon, opportunities began coming to him. Opportunities that weren't just impressive on the outside, but fulfilling on the inside. So, how can you begin to shift from desperation to purpose? First, gain clarity. Spend time reflecting on who you want to become. What do you stand for? What kind of life do you envision? This step is foundational. It gives your actions direction and depth. Second, trust the process. Desperation comes from a lack of trust. Trust in yourself, in timing, in life's unfolding. When you trust the process, you don't feel the need to rush. You understand that each purposeful step brings you closer to your goal. Third, carry yourself with quiet confidence. Desperation is loud. It screams, "I need this now." Purpose is silent strength. It whispers, "I know where I'm going." The more aligned your actions are with your inner values, the more magnetic your presence becomes. People can feel the difference. In the end, true success isn't the result of frantic effort. It's the outcome of grounded intention. When you stop trying to force results and start moving with clear, unwavering purpose, everything begins to shift. Opportunities find their way to you. People trust you. Life begins to align, not because you demanded it, but because you became someone who was ready for it. So don't rush. Don't scramble. Instead, anchor yourself in who you are and where you're going. Move with purpose and watch the right doors open quietly, naturally, and right on time. 6. Embodying abundance. The power of living as if you already have enough. There's a silent force that shapes the way we experience life. Not our circumstances, not our bank accounts, but the energy we bring into each moment. One of the most transformative shifts you can make is learning to live in the energy of abundance. Most people live in a mindset of scarcity. They're always reaching, always chasing. More money, more recognition, more success. The finish line keeps moving, and the sense of lack never goes away. The irony? The harder you chase something from a place of emptiness, the further it seems to slip from your grasp. But what if the secret isn't in chasing but in becoming? Abundance isn't something you wait for. It's something you embody. It's not found in things, but in the energy you carry. When you live as if you already have what you desire, you stop broadcasting lack. You stop begging the world to give you what you feel is missing. Instead, you start attracting more of what you already believe is yours. This isn't just positive thinking. It's energetic alignment. When you operate from a place of fullness, gratitude, confidence, trust, your actions, your decisions, your interactions shift. You stop scrambling. You begin creating. You speak with clarity. You move with certainty. You make room for opportunities to find you. This mindset shift can transform your entire life. Stoic wisdom has long pointed to this inner wealth. Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." Let that sink in. True wealth isn't about owning more. It's about needing less. When you free yourself from the illusion that something out there will complete you, you begin to understand that wholeness was never outside. It was within you all along. Let me tell you about James. James was the kind of man who always had a new target. A bigger salary, a better title, a nicer car. He convinced himself that once he reached that next milestone, he'd finally feel at peace. But with every goal achieved, a new one appeared, and the contentment he craved always seemed just out of reach. Then something shifted. After months of feeling burned out and empty, despite his success, James paused. He asked himself a powerful question. What if I already have enough? That one question led him to change his entire approach. Instead of obsessing over what he didn't have, he began appreciating what he did: his health, his relationships, his talents, and his freedom. He started every morning with gratitude. He made decisions based on his values, not just outcomes. He stopped rushing and began enjoying the journey. And something remarkable happened. He began attracting more of the very things he once chased: meaningful work, deeper relationships, and financial growth. But this time, it wasn't fueled by lack. It was a reflection of the abundance he had already chosen to live from. So how do you embody abundance? First, start with gratitude. Not the performative kind, real, intentional gratitude. Take time every day to notice what's already good. A peaceful morning, a kind friend, a body that carries you. The more you acknowledge your current blessings, the more abundant your life will feel. Second, let go of outcome obsession. You can still have goals, but don't tie your happiness to them. Act as if what you want is already on its way. Move through life with the confidence of someone who knows their needs will be met. That trust changes everything. Third, change your internal story. Instead of thinking, I need more, tell yourself, I already have enough to begin. Because you do. When you shift from lack to fullness, your energy becomes magnetic. You stop needing and you start attracting. At the heart of it, abundance isn't about what you have. It's about how you see what you have and how you show up because of it. When you choose to embody abundance, you start to realize that fulfillment doesn't live in the future. It lives in this very moment. So stop chasing. Start living as if you're already whole, already enough, already supported by something greater. Because when you believe it, you'll begin to see it. And that's when life starts to respond in the most extraordinary ways. Here's the truth. You can't control the world, but you can control yourself, your thoughts, your reactions, your effort. That's where your true power lies, not in changing the external world, but in mastering your inner one. This is one of the most empowering shifts you can make. When you stop trying to control what's outside your reach, you free yourself to focus on what really matters, your mindset, your growth, your peace. Suddenly, life feels lighter. You're no longer drained by things you can't change. You start to respond rather than react, and that calm, grounded energy brings clarity and strength in even the most uncertain moments. This wisdom runs deep in Stoic philosophy. Epictetus put it perfectly when he said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Imagine that true freedom, not as domination over your surroundings, but as detachment from needing to dominate them at all. Letting go of control doesn't mean giving up. It means shifting your energy to what's actually within your grasp. It means trusting the process, even when you don't know how things will unfold. It means embracing uncertainty without being shaken by it. Take Anna, for example, a woman I once worked with, whose life was tightly wound by anxiety. Every step she took was shadowed by what ifs. What if I fail? What if they don't like me? What if things go wrong? The more she tried to control her path, the more stuck she became. Her thoughts spiraled, her energy drained, progress stalled. One day, she reached a breaking point. Not because something terrible happened, but because she realized she couldn't keep living like that. So, she made a choice not to control more, but to let go. She started small. She stopped obsessing over what others thought and focused on showing up authentically. She let go of rigid timelines and started trusting that her efforts would bear fruit when the time was right. She tuned into the present moment, poured energy into her habits, and responded with intention instead of panic. The results weren't instant, but they were powerful. Opportunities that once eluded her began showing up effortlessly. She felt more confident, more at ease, and more connected to herself than ever before. And the irony? The less she tried to control life, the more it seemed to work in her favor. So how can you begin letting go of control? First, focus on what you can influence: your mindset, your choices, your daily actions. When you shift your attention to your inner world, the outer world becomes far less overwhelming. Second, release the need for everything to go according to your plan. Plans are useful, but they're not sacred. Life unfolds in its own time. Trust that what's meant for you won't miss you, and what's not meant for you won't stay, no matter how tightly you hold on. Third, learn to dance with uncertainty. Life isn't a straight road, It's a winding path with surprises, detours, and lessons hidden along the way. When you embrace the unknown, you open yourself up to experiences you could never have planned for, but were always meant to grow from. 7. Take aligned action. Then let go. The art of trusting the process. There's a quiet power in doing your part, and then letting go. So often, we're taught that success comes from constant hustle. Push harder, do more, worry more. And maybe, just maybe, things will fall into place faster. But here's the paradox. The harder you try to force things, the more resistance you create. Real progress often happens not when you're gripping tightly to control, but when you release it. Let's rewind. Most of us have been there, putting in long hours, obsessing over every detail, trying to micromanage outcomes as if we could bend time and circumstances to our will. But the truth is, that mindset doesn't lead to peace or clarity. It leads to burnout. Because when you're constantly attached to the result, you lose sight of what truly matters, the alignment between your actions and your purpose. The most powerful thing you can do: take action that reflects your values, your vision, your truth. Then step back. Let go of the outcome. Release the urgency. Trust the process. That doesn't mean you become passive. Far from it. It means you do the work with intention, not desperation. You focus on the inputs, your effort, your clarity, your consistency, not the outputs you can't always control. The Stoics understood this deeply. Seneca once said, "Effort and patience will achieve more than force and anxiety." This isn't just philosophical, it's practical. Think about it. When you're patient, you stay focused. When you let go of anxiety, your mind is clear. And when you take purposeful steps each day, without obsessing over when you'll arrive, you actually move faster because you're not tangled in your own expectations. Let me tell you a story that brings this to life. There was a woman I once knew. We'll call her Grace. She had started a business driven by a real sense of passion and vision. But somewhere along the way, her energy shifted. She began chasing results. She worked late nights, jumped at every opportunity, and constantly worried about why things weren't growing faster. The pressure built, the results stalled, and her motivation began to fade. One day, after a particularly tough month, her mentor told her something simple but powerful. "Grace, take aligned action, then let go. Do the work you know is right, and trust that what's meant for you will arrive." So she shifted. She stopped scrambling and started simplifying. She focused on meaningful actions, serving her clients well, improving her product, creating from the heart. And most importantly, she stopped fixating on when the breakthrough would come. And sure enough, it came. Not all at once, and not exactly how she expected, but it came. Because she was finally in flow, clear, grounded, consistent. The opportunities she had been chasing started arriving, not because she forced them, but because she was ready for them. So how do you step into this space of calm, aligned action? First, identify what you can control: your values, your choices, the energy you bring. That's where your power lies. Second, act from that space. Do what feels right, not just what feels urgent. Let your values guide your actions instead of fear or pressure. Third, release the timeline. Results may come tomorrow or months from now. Your job isn't to control the timing. Your job is to stay steady, present, and open. And finally, trust that letting go isn't weakness. It's wisdom. It's recognizing that life often works best when we stop clenching and start trusting. At the end of the day, aligned action and surrendered outcomes create the perfect partnership. One keeps you grounded, the other keeps you free. When you move this way, success isn't something you have to chase. It becomes something you naturally attract. So take the step, show up, do the work, then let it breathe. What's meant for you will never pass you by. And if this message resonates with you, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear it. The journey is always better when we walk it together. In the end, letting go of control is not about giving up. It's about rising above. It's about choosing presence over panic, trust over tension, and flow over force. And when you do, you'll find that life becomes a little quieter, a little easier, and a lot more meaningful. Let go not because you're weak, but because you're strong enough to know that peace is more powerful than control. Don't forget to subscribe, to join the Thetopstoic community, and discover more life lessons that will help you energize your day.